The Velcathi Queen issued a proclamation that reverberated across 17 star systems. Her 5 daughters had vanished. The royal children, genetic repositories of millennia of selective breeding, carriers of the bloodline that had ruled the Velcathi dominion since the dawn of spacefaring civilization, were missing. Search parties mobilized. Entire fleets were diverted. Planetary governments offered rewards that could purchase small moons. The daughters were not merely important. They were irreplaceable. Each one had been raised in sterile palaces, protected by technology that monitored every heartbeat, educated by the galaxy's finest minds. The idea that they could simply cease to exist was incomprehensible. The investigation led to a human settlement on the Outer Rim, a nothing world called Kepler-7, a place so unremarkable that it barely warranted a notation in galactic records. The Velcathi dispatched their best investigator, Commander Trenalf, a being whose reputation for finding the unfindable was legendary across the Dominion. She found them in a modest dwelling on a quiet street, sitting on a human woman's lap. Sarah Chen's small house smelled of cooking food and something indefinably warm. The 5 Velcathi daughters, their luminescent skin dimmed to soft pastels, were nestled against Sarah's chest and legs, their delicate forms arranged with careful affection. One was asleep against her shoulder. Another was braiding Sarah's hair with trembling fingers. 2 more were wrapped around her torso like living scarves, their crystalline bodies humming softly. The 5th was simply holding her hand. Commander Trenalf stood in the doorway, her 4 eyes processing the scene with absolute confusion. "Explain," she commanded. Sarah looked up calmly, unsurprised. She'd been expecting this eventually. "Hello. Would you like some tea? I am Commander Trenalf of the Royal Guard. The Queen's daughters are under arrest for abandonment of duty, and—" "Their children," Sarah interrupted gently. "And they were terrified." The story emerged slowly, carefully, as Sarah remained motionless so as not to disturb the daughters still clinging to her. They had fled the palace, she explained, not in rebellion, but in desperation. Each one had been assigned a role in the Dominion's future, each one groomed since birth for a specific function in the grand machinery of royal succession. There was no choice in their lives, no spontaneity, no simple kindness that wasn't calculated as part of their education. The youngest, barely adolescent by Velcathi standards, had suffered a breakdown during her diplomatic training. The others, bound by their shared experience, had made a choice that scandalized their entire civilization. They ran. They'd found Sarah at a spaceport, a human woman traveling alone, someone so outside their world that she represented freedom itself. When one of them approached her, desperate and terrified, Sarah had simply asked if they were okay and listened to the answer. When they explained where they came from, Sarah's response had been astonishingly simple. "Then you need to rest." She brought them here, to this modest home, and for 3 months, she'd done something revolutionary. She'd treated them like people, not symbols. "They play," Sarah said softly, gesturing to the eldest, who was currently engaged in what appeared to be teaching the middle daughter a human children's game using Sarah's kitchen utensils. "They sleep past dawn if they want to. They eat food that's not optimized for their physiology because they like how it tastes. They laugh, actual, spontaneous laughter, not the measured responses taught in palaces." She looked down at the daughter sleeping against her shoulder. "Your youngest asked me yesterday if she could just not be a princess, not be a symbol, not be part of a succession plan. Just be." I said yes. Commander Trenalf processed this information, her mind struggling against training that said this was aberration, chaos, failure. And yet she saw what was undeniable. The daughters were alive in a way no one in the palace had ever witnessed. Their skin glowed with health. Their movements were fluid and joyful. They were safe. "The Queen will demand their return," Trenalf said finally. "There will be consequences." "I know," Sarah replied. "But I needed them to know that there was a choice. That someone, somewhere, valued them as they are, not as what they're supposed to become." The commander stood silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, she sat down in a nearby chair. "Tell me more about this tea you mentioned. And perhaps I could understand what it is they found here that they could not find in all the palaces of the Dominion. As Sarah poured tea with one hand, careful never to disturb the daughters resting against her, something shifted in the galaxy. Not a revolution or a proclamation, but something quieter and more fundamental. The radical notion that even royalty deserved to be simply, wholly, unconditionally loved for exactly who they were. And in that small house on an unremarkable world, 5 Velcathi princesses experienced something their entire civilization had never offered them: permission to just be.